Generative AI on AWS versus generative AI on Azure. Which one should I learn and why? That was a question asked by Shrey in my one of my free classes on generative AI or learning generative AI specific to AWS and Azure. So I thought I'll take this opportunity to answer that question. And the question was so good. She was specifically very specific in terms of should I learn Microsoft Azure Copilot as a generative AI or should I go for AWS and why should I go? So I thought probably I'll record that video because or answer him, but at the same time I'll record this video in a little bit or more in depth so I can go deeper into and because I had similar questions when I started my career in AI and machine learning a couple of years back, and then more about generative AI when we were learning and picking up a generative AI. So I'll go detail and I'll give you my view overall, both pros and cons of each, and then finally my take on what I should be doing, including summary and what I did as well, so that you can take a educated guess. And if you want to go deeper, I run a free class both for AWS and Azure, generative AI in principle. So I'll be leaving in the comment section or in description section below this video for those free classes if you want to attend. But before I go forward and move forward very, very quickly, my name is Atul Kumar and I'm from team K21 Academy, been more than close to 2.5 decades in IT. Last a decade is on cloud, multi-cloud, and last 3, 4 years is all about AI, machine learning, and generative AI because that's where the future is. So in this video, let's begin with first of all AWS and Azure implementation on generative AI, what you should be doing and why. So if you look at in terms of the services, uh, both in my view, AWS has a comprehensive suite of services like they have SageMaker for much deeper building your own machine learning models and so on. They also have deep learning, a lot of services, including they also have a Bedrock and so on. Similarly, Microsoft also have their machine learning model tool, machine learning, uh, also included or integrated with a lot of Microsoft products as well. Uh, like in terms of if you look at maturity on ecosystem, maturity of those services. So AWS is much more extensive, much more mature, and with a lot of third-party integrations. If you see all the other foundation model that you see, and I'll probably might be covering in future, and also on this channel we have a lot of other videos, and I'll be covering more of those what this foundation model are, what all supported. So a lot of integration with that in AWS cloud. Now for Azure, it's growing, but it's less extensive as AWS because they've started a bit early in my view that journey. If you look at scalability, they're excellent scalability, number of regions across the globe and so on. And also Microsoft Azure also has a stronger scalability and it's much more mature in terms of hybrid, which is on-premise integrations as well. Now, from a community point of view, AWS, is a large, huge community on Azure as well. Azure also has a good community, but they have a deeper community, especially on a developer community side as well. Now, from a global reach point of view, global infrastructure, and Azure is still comparatively smaller than AWS, but they also have a good reach especially in a hybrid point of view. Now, pricing, if you look at, pricing is much more complicated if you look at because we were doing a course or training program in AWS, generative AI, machine learning. The prices were a little bit more complex, but then it does pretty well. And it also AWS suggests recommendations to reduce the price as well. Whereas the Microsoft Azure, that has a very straightforward um, the pricing point of view, and they have a better cost management as well. From a learning point of view, it's a steep learning curve with lots and lots of services, but it's fun as well if you start learning and if you start enjoying, especially begin with focus on for generative AI Bedrock, and if you want to go deeper, then SageMaker on AWS. Similarly, on Azure as well. Azure, I think from a learning point of view, they've made it a little bit simpler in my view, but then both have pros and cons, but both have a huge material to learn and you can learn deeper as well. From a vendor locking point of view, uh, AWS is slightly has a vendor locking or a little bit of dependency on vendor locking, and same is with potentially with Azure as well. They eventually want you to be on that vendor locking, but there's a lot of hybrid integrations that you can use as well for here. Now, if you look at it from a service maturity point of view, AWS is highly mature. The services are mature, used by hundreds and hundreds of customers. In fact, our top 90% use the big AI startups are using AWS. Um, from a maturity point of view, AWS is still reaching out there, but it's not as robust as, but they're growing fast as well on. From an enterprise support point of view, AWS is quite known for their good enterprise support, and so is Azure as well. Comparatively, still, I think AWS, in my view, is slightly better on that. From a regional availability point of view, brought a good globally uh, available broad services across the globe. Um, Whereas in Azure, they're still on limited on in terms of, but they're growing and they have reach is regionally limited comparatively or less compared to AWS as well. Now, in summary, I'm going to do it which one is better on why. From a service range point of view, AWS in my view is a better platform, more comprehensive services or suite of services in AWS AI services. And I'm recording this on July 2024, so things might change in future depending on when you're watching this video as well. Again, as I said, but both are. Let me continue this and then I'll say from an ecosystem point of view, generative AI complete ecosystem with respect to other cloud services as well. AWS, same is with scalability, community resources, global reach, all these points. The plus is Microsoft Azure is a little bit better on pricing point of view, learning curve point of view, vendor locking point of view if you have to compare. But as I said, both eventually want you to lock in that clouds. Maturity point of view, AWS is much more mature, and enterprise support point of view is Azure a little bit better from enterprise support point of view because they also have the on-premise integrations. Region availability point of view, AWS is better, and I think in one other thing in I think again based on this, I think overall my view would be that uh, if you're needing a wide range of services, then go and more support across the globe, then go for AWS. But if you are a big Microsoft shop and you are already have tight integrations with or looking for more Microsoft Azure services related, then you go for the Microsoft Azure cloud. Now the big point is if you have to learn pick one of them or which one you to be picking in what scenario. And then I'll give you my opinion as well. So I started with AWS first on generative AI because, of course, they have number one when a cloud provider. Also, then they also have they started much earlier, especially in machine learning and AI and AWS. Probably you know that they're using it with Amazon, right from delivery to all like Amazon shopping. That you see or e-commerce they're pretty using extensively as well. Similar Microsoft Azure on the plus side on Microsoft Azure, they are catching up now on this, but they also have OpenAI, so that's a big advantage for them as well. Eventually, I think rather than limiting it to one or two, eventually you will end up doing both. My preference would be to do both if you can, and if you have to pick one, depending on if you have a client who's already using Azure and they're focused on Azure, then put generative AI on Azure. If you don't have any preferences, then I would go for AWS, or if you don't have any client right now because of more jobs, more opportunities as well. That's exactly what I did, but I learned both of them, and that's what I would recommend as well. When you learn, become an expert and do both of them. With that, I think let me know what your view is, which one you're going to do, why you're going to do that, and any suggestions, any feedback that you have to improve on these videos. I'm going to constantly review. And Shri, I hope I've answered your question, but if you tell a little bit more about, have a talk with my team. I think someone from my team, and most probably Raki, will get in touch with you. And if you need any further help, just do let us know. Eventually, I would suggest go both of them. If that's where you've decided to stay in AI, machine learning, generative AI, then go for both eventually. Yeah, let my team know if you have. Oh, by the way, if you have any other suggestion for the videos, we have done videos in the past. I'm working on the new video about AI and machine learning certifications on AWS Cloud. That's coming probably this week. Future videos as well, and we are also doing some certification trainings. I'll put it into description section. It's all free classes that we'll be doing on the description section, and we'll put in the playlist where you see other things like what is the difference between AI, traditional AI versus machine learning versus generative AI. What is transformers architecture look like? What is foundation model look like? What is LLMs look like, and so on. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel and let me know your questions as well so I can record videos like that. With that, this is Atul. And by the way, Sri, thank you for attending this free class. I hope you got a ton of value. Do let me know if you need any other help, or if you've yet to watch, check the description below or the comment section in this video. Take care and bye for now.